Being 4:30, let's open up the February 20th Sewer Commissioners meeting. Elaine Fiore.
Bill Watson.
Brian Donohoe.
Okay, we go right into meeting minutes. Anybody have a chance to look at the November ones?
No.
Okay,
They're in this package, that's what I think. The only, this one,
Yeah.
We'll hold those over.
sure. New business update from superintendent.
So, recently we, had our fiscal year 2025 budget approved, went into the finance committee and it was last Wednesday. So everything seemed to go smooth, just some minor questions and details that was worked out, but, other than that, FY 25 budget was approved. Currently, we have an issue that's been a little ongoing with our air compressors at the plant. Two of the air compressors that run the septic pumps malfunctioned. What seems to be at the same time. And in a perfect storm, we had them looked at last week. Today I approved the technician come back and do the service on it. They did the evaluation Friday. Service will be forthcoming. Just waiting to hear back from them on timing. At this point, we're limping along with some other processes to try and circumvent the issues we're having with the compressors, but that hopefully will be fixed relatively soon. Waterworth, Jeannie and I were working on doing some more evaluating of next year's budget and seeing where we lie in terms of how we assess our revenues and expenses for next year. Still working on that. Don't have any particular details for you at this point. That'll be forthcoming as well. And then we've just been emailing back and forth regarding some current budget year items, and I imagine you want to talk about that part of it. But,
Yeah. Carol, said that for FY 24, they believe we're gonna be $600,000 short. So Jeannie and I spent a lot of time putting together some numbers, and what I've done is I've separated operating budget from debt. So the operating budget, we have no shortfall in the operating budget at all. We're good, and we could probably end up with a little bit of surplus based on revenue. The debt side, we just got started on that one. The expectation is the only new debt is the plant expansion. All the other debt, that revenue and those betterments should be ongoing until those loans are paid out. So that shouldn't be an issue. So we're talking about the new debt, which I'm looking at now with Jeannie and making sure that the one for the plant expansion, that the number is correct based on the amortization schedule. And two, we always knew that a portion of that debt
think so.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Was going to be paid through surplus revenue, free cash, until that fourth tank was filled. So we're just trying to determine what that delta is right now, because we are collecting betterments for the plant expansion, but just not enough to cover the full debt. So
What about the lump sum that we got from the mall?
We-
That we can credited to the system.
the way it was is it was a 3 million two. We took half of that and paid off the ban, the temporary ban, and then the other half, Carol is spreading it out over the term of the loan.
Gotcha.
So,
All right, so that's coming in, but it's.
yes,
So I have a couple of questions. Why isn't the fact that you have the tanks there, from a betterment point of view, being paid for by the betterment? I think you said that we are hold up, but it's the tanks there, the expenditure has been made. Why don't all the betterments we'll be adding to any future hookup, anybody who's not already paid a betterment, all those other people that we're trying to figure out for the audit, they should all be paying into that betterment, right?
everybody who's connected for the plant expansion phase is paying a betterment. I'm just gonna use ballpark numbers. Let's say the debt for the plant expansion's 500,000. Okay, that was the way all this was calculated, we would have 3 and 4 tanks filled. So we've got 3 tanks filled, so we're collecting betterments on a portion of that plant expansion debt, not the full amount. And we were gonna,
So the betterments will increase, but people who are already paying betterments, they'll increase.
that's why we were using surplus revenue to get us through until the 4th tank until we had the leaching fields and we could take on more flow.
Okay.
And by selling capacity in the 4th tank through the audit, be the people in the audit.
Okay.
That would satisfy the deficit, if there is one, for the plant expansion debt for the infrastructure.
Okay, so I guess
It's a temporary.
I think that probably would help me internally. Show how that was stuff done before, and there's a logic to it. I don't understand the logic, but I can kind of sense it, just so I can see where the pots of money are. And how someone paying a betterment now understands they're paying a betterment that's less than they would have. So, I mean, I guess.
Okay, for the plant expansion, the betterment was determined to be $22,000 for 1 EIU. So we're getting a 3rd tank of betterments, but we're not getting the 4th tank of betterments yet. Because we have had no leaching fields and this audit needs to be completed. So the betterment amount wasn't decreased. That's the betterment amount for both tanks. So
But we've been offsetting it, you're saying.
yes, this is the first year we've offset it.
So they're not gonna see it go up, we're just using free cash, so to speak, to do it. That's gonna go away.
Yes.
It's be a full thing. So there's all these, I'm looking at about another 1,200 new, just the numbers I'm hearing so far. 1,200 more betterments are gonna be added that we don't have now.
Okay.
Something like that.
It could be in that ballpark. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, the use of free cash is temporary until the leaching fields are built, the audit is done, and the 4th tank is
That's
operational.
coming out of our
Septage,
septic fees.
right?
All right, again, I think we're just talking, there's a lot of moving parts, just to kind of help us all. I'm looking at, I'll work with you on this, here's the pots of money, here's what went there, here's what went there, this is done, this is over. You know, we just talked with Dave earlier about this, not to confuse us, but how the 0% interest decreases this column of interest on this 2%. That should go away, right?
For the
All-
leaching fields.
Leaching field. What about any of this go back to the tank 2 and 3?
No,
The 3 and 4, I mean?
No.
Okay.
but yes, that's the exact exercise Jeannie and I are going through. That's like when we sent out all the information on the
Yeah.
operating budget, we're gonna do the exact same thing for the debt. We're gonna say this is, prior to the plant expansion, this is the debt, this is the revenue.
We're in the right direction.
Yeah,
This is
we are.
going back to what you and I were talking earlier. This is the 9.1 for the leaching fields. That, I think, that's a larger number. We have the reduction in what actually gonna cost. So this should come down by at least $1.5 million, something like that, because CDM went up a little bit. But this number here, 188, down all the way through, there's like $3 million in this column of interest, 2% interest. That should go away, or most of that should go away.
I would think so for the leaching fields, yes.
Right, okay, that just so,
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. See,
Yes,
that's why good going what we did is so important, because it's a huge number
yeah,
over time,
definitely.
And we're talking about a shortfall. When you say shortfall of 600,000, bingo, there it is.
Well,
Look
and
ahead. I mean,
and
that's,
that's a separate entity.
yeah,
yeah.
we're talking about this year's budget.
Right.
And we can't validate that there's a 600,000.
No. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I know everything's moving, right, but just it's encouraging. We're all going on these really important numbers.
Yes,
They're all fluid, but when you look at, it's not just negative. This is going up, this is going down. That makes me feel a lot better. Just that everything's going, it's all gonna come down to zero.
Yeah.
Close to zero.
Agreed.
I love the plus
Yeah.
or minus equals zero statement.
I mean, again, we sent out the stuff on the operating budget. We'll do the same thing for the debt. And you'll see we're right on track. I mean, there may be a little bit of a shortage, but not 600,000.
And then we figure out the rates and other things that have, inflation and all
Right.
the other legitimate points to talk about, but that's down the road. Perfect.
Okay, I think we're all talking the same thing, and it's just coming together.
I was trying to give this gentleman a little, he was so kind of depressed a little bit, about money, and it's really not that bad, Dave. And just, okay, just I want to make sure you.
It's, yeah, definitely. If that number goes
Okay.
down every time, all your efforts for keeping the soil on the project, you guys working together for the
Yeah.
low interest loans. I mean, all these pieces are gonna come together and help. But there's so many different moving
Right.
parts. There's a leaching field, there's a current year budget, there's next year's budget, there's a lot of variables, and they're moving targets, and trying to kind of corral them like corralling cats sometimes.
Oh, that's it. We all have a piece of it to come together and discuss, but it all ends up with you.
Yeah. And it's new coming from a collections and treatment aspect.
Right.
To then get into the numbers side of things. And, you look at some of the numbers and, even finding out where they're coming from.
Exactly.
And how do they feed back into something from historical stuff and then future stuff. So it's,
Welcome to the grade 6 level of management of this wastewater
Yeah.
treatment plant, the stuff that they don't teach you.
And that's why we,
there's a lot of things they don't teach you on that, in the grade 6 or 5 or whatever you go.
Imagine running all the plants in the state.
and that's why Jeannie and I are so detailed to show exactly how we came up with the conclusion.
And she's good at that. As
Yes.
far as, corralling cats, she's good at it. So, on that, of some of the numbers, when you had, you're looking at those, can you see what if you're looking at the number of that 9-10 figure year
Yes.
to date,
Yes.
that's just from what we get from usage fees, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't include septic.
Correct.
So if I look at that 9-10 for 2 quarters,
Yes.
and then I look at the 3rd and 4th quarter,
Yes.
which is only a fraction of it.
Right. We have an estimate. The first and second quarters typically include summer and all that. The 3rd and 4th quarter, I personally expect it to be higher. But I'm just going by historical,
Yeah,
that I'm not gonna overestimate. I'm taking last year's numbers
yeah,
at the collection rate of, in 22, we received 95% of the user fees that were billed.
that's what
Okay.
we're looking at.
In 23, that's the column of commitments. In 23, we received 88% of the user fees billed. So when I estimated the remaining 2 quarters of this year's budget, you'll see them in red.
Mhm.
I estimated 88% of the 3rd and 4th quarter of 23. For example, the 3rd quarter of 23 was 292,288.71. I estimated 88% of that to plug that in for this year's expected. So those two, you add them together, the 3rd and 4th quarter, and though I have in red estimated shortfall, there is no shortfall. Based on the operating budget of $1,374,252,
That should be served.
we have surplus of 48,002.
Okay. So where it says estimated shortfall, it should be estimated surplus.
Right. So, and this is being conservative.
Right, I can see we went back to 95, 88.
Yeah.
So
7%.
if I look at FY 22
Right.
and FY 23,
Mm-hmm.
the 1st and 2nd quarters. So let's go to FY 22.
Okay. I know where you're going. We'd have to look at the commitments if you want to do this after this meeting.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
because
'Cause
we're
there's
the
a big
night,
difference.
right, the 910 is on the Munis spreadsheet.
Yeah.
The Munis report that says user fees 910,000.
Yeah,
So if that's what you're questioning,
yeah,
then we should look
That's-
into that more.
that's where it seems like there's an anomaly.
Okay, then we'll look into that more because based on what
Is
we,
how legit is that number? 'Cause that's pretty imperative in terms of knowing what our surplus and shortfall are gonna be.
right, so we're gonna have to ask
So,
Carol.
Yeah, why is that elevated to the point that it seems higher by a substantial amount? And is that, as far as new people tying in, the only real growth I could kind of throw something at is maybe if all of a sudden those apartments
Yeah, when you
started
discussed
using
that
a ton
question,
more
yeah.
usage.
And it could be that
Is it that?
the reports we're relying on aren't accurate.
True, true.
Do we already have flows on the apartments as far as an estimation? There's no flow meter for that whole complex.
Well,
right?
that, Marion Drive pump station primarily picks up the mall.
Right, exactly.
So I'd have to look at our sheets, but off the top of my head, somewhere around 30,000 gallons a day.
Okay, so there is
Oh, that's a
some
big-
sort of a
that's a
meter
big
in that pump station.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they've been, when they first came on, they were in the 22,000 range per
Okay,
day.
okay, so we can take this
So,
offline.
It's been coming for a bit, increasing in volume as, we progress and they fill up more of their building.
Yeah.
But, it's not like it started out at zero.
Okay.
No,
Years ago,
once
probably
the
started
mall,
at 22.
Yeah,
once the mall itself was hooked up, that was X amount. And then the apartment's gonna be X amount on top of that.
Yeah.
The mall's treatment plant has a permit for 97,000 gallons a day. And they were at 80% of it when the mall was running full tilt.
okay,
And I know this from the other side of the
Where's
table.
the rest of it go?
They asked me to bid on operating that thing and upgrading it for the mall, for the apartments. And I said, well, I can just hook up to the big plant. It's right there. And then they go, that's a good idea. So I worked myself out of a job, but for the right reason. See, so this is really important. The number you just said, I know those apartments are built out. They're fully built out.
Yeah.
They were about 8 months ago, finally. So those numbers are good. 30,000. And there's how many? There's 220.
282, I think is the amount.
283 there?
Yeah, something like that. Wasn't it 280 something?
I just wanted to check these numbers. You hear 22,000, I mean, 30,000?
Yeah, roughly in that area.
Let's see if this is up. Should be 70. 106. They use a lot, that would make 70 gallons per person per day is the actual uses of water. Using those numbers, it's 106. So 36 is the rest of the mall.
Okay,
Okay. And there's not much that would make sense to me. It's the few restaurants that are there, there's the kids that are there, just checking the numbers to make
Yeah.
sense. Okay.
yeah, so we'll have to, these are based on the commitments that the water department gave us for water consumption.
See.
And we'll have to see if this line item on that report, what's behind that line item. It
Yeah,
says
'cause that
septic,
shows
I'm
up
sorry,
to-
it says user fees.
That says up to 215.24. So is that really first and second?
Okay, actual revenue right here, it says sewer user fees.
Mhm.
It says actual 900.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
And I saw that, so.
So-
Does 215.24 put us beyond?
We're not gonna know until we find out what makes up this 910.
Good.
Yeah, looks, this is the report.
Is it here?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I finally
Munis,
got
is that the system that water department uses? That, what is Munis?
Munis is our accounting,
Oh, our,
so-
for the whole.
the town of Kingston's
Yeah, all right.
accounting software. The first line item says user fees. And under the 910,051, above that says actual year-to-date revenue. So relying on that, and it says below accepted receipts, 170,000. So that seems like in the ballpark, so we'll have to, and this was as of. What's the date? She did this 2/15, Jeannie ran this 2/15,
Actual
year-to-date revenue
year-to-date revenue.
is the third column. So we'll,
910 is. So that's, okay, that's two, all right, I get it.
And realistically, you figure the 6 months in should be July, August, September, October, November, December.
and that's it, we'll have to find out, we won't be able to figure it out.
Yep.
Without finding out what's behind that.
Right. Okay. That's fair enough.
But this is the detail on how we've got a balanced budget for 24.
That's the first I've seen this, so that's just thinking of,
Yeah,
and not that I wanted, that's, you can.
no, by all means, feel free.
I don't, I mean, I got stuff to do.
I know.
Almost done.
Next,
What else is now rolling on? Oh, what sort of deadline do we have as far as getting the warrants? I imagine there's a warrant for the articles for town meeting.
yeah, that's
According
6,
to a schedule I had from Keith, so that looked like March 26th.
yes, and that's where I did the draft articles for us. Key being draft. Okay, so for the draft articles, that's what I just passed out.
Mhm.
The first one's our operating budget. You'll see the numbers up in the paragraphs, that's yellow highlight. I wasn't gonna use color on my printer. Those numbers just need to be verified. They're placeholders every year. We just plug in the numbers.
Okay.
There's,
3,550,000.
yeah, should be our total, but this is what we're working through. These numbers down here, this is the operating budget proposed for FY 25, personal services amount, expenses, and then the debt. This is for 25. Then below are the town allocated costs. We get charged by the town for using the services of different departments. That equals the 318,012, so all that middle equals the 3,550,694 above. The employee benefits of that section below is the wastewater retirement, those individual things related to the actual employees of the plant. So the top part's the motion for the budget. The second motion is they now combine free cash usage in the same article. It's on the second page. And it says, in further move the town transfer from wastewater retained earnings, our free cash after deducting debt was 93,676. So Dave just can think between now and when these need to be turned in on what he may want to use this for. And then the article below it, I added in case there is a shortage in our FY 24 budget. We put together, Jeannie identified a handful of articles. There's 2 of them that total 321,155. Again, that's a placeholder to see if we do have a shortage, we have article money that can be used to offset it. So in theory, we'll have 2 articles, one for the FY 24 shortage, if there is one. And then the top one is for the operating budget for FY 25, plus the usage of free cash of 93,676. And I did add the language in there that says debt, operating budget, salaries, to take into consideration any retro increases that we're doing. So that's the explanation for that language.
I'm just one thing right now. You're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
The issue of payments to us from the town. And think I learned something a lot this week, talking with Gene and going through my numbers and we go back and forth. First of all, that we actually had some input from the town on some basis. It's 5,000 a year.
Yeah, something like that, or 8,000. I don't think it includes the schools.
Okay.
Well, the schools build out differently because no, it's not. These are our schools, so it's not.
Right, and it would be just for the user fees, not betterments or anything.
Right, so that was the first question. No betterments make sense. There's no betterments at all.
Right,
But in the user fee side, and you saw the letter that I had from 2002.
Yes.
And if I use that number and it's not far off from being right, I don't think. But that's a question. What is the number? And that Gene was gonna do, just spot check what the flow from like town hall,
yes,
what's the flow from the elementary school? And just get a kind of number about it. If I take the number 350, which I know is based on Title V at the time.
Yeah.
The numbers I come up with, they both come in close, depending on which way I do. I took your sheet of the buildings. It's there. Yeah, here it is. And I did it by ERUs. I did everything except what our actual flow rate is.
yes,
I know we have the real gallons, but it comes in 29,000 a year. Depending on which way I do it, it's 29,000 and 25,600. So in between those two numbers is the right one. It ain't 5.
good to know. That's another project
Okay.
for
So this just as we're talking about
revenue.
this revenue, there's a big number sitting out there out on the lawn. And how we deal with it, I mean, we're not looking for world or anything, but this becomes a really important another asset for us.
Right.
Is how do we bleed it in when we need it? How do we do it? We work with the administration here. But it's definitely a number on our side of the equation, okay?
Okay, good. We'll wait
And
for that.
we do need the flow rates, we do need all that, and, make it fair. And, this is my segue, we should be teaching all those little kids how sewage is treated, taking them every year, taking the 3rd grade up, and he's gonna run to the show and we're gonna walk them through this thing and say, this is where your money goes, every time you flush the toilet. Just don't do that. What happens?
See, and this is good you're back on because I've never seen this letter.
Yeah.
I've never seen that letter.
I have this word.
I mean, I know, we've been charging it, but I never
I just,
saw this letter.
that's right when I said, life's too short.
Yeah,
Kevin's a good guy, though. Kevin was a good guy.
Yes.
It was really, I
it's-
lost track of him.
yeah. I haven't seen him. Well, he was interim here for a little bit.
Yeah.
But. Okay, so that's good. So Jeannie's got that as well.
Yeah, so that was, we're gonna talk a little more about it, just.
Yeah,
those
No, that's
numbers-
good.
Those numbers are, the other side of the equation. It's, okay.
They have irrigation on the town hall? They don't have
No.
sprinklers. They don't have sprinklers.
I don't know, it's not for lean lawn.
I know. No wonder.
I don't know.
Do you think the water department gave them their own water meter?
Well, I believe I heard that the water department is starting to charge each individual building, the library, even the plants.
It's like,
Yeah, water use.
like we get a bill from
And
everybody else.
For the longest
all the
time,
services.
it was just kind of, yeah, it's all right, you can town, but back to Brian's point about making sure that we're getting the revenue on these ends, it's.
And more so because there's only, not everybody's paying for sewer. So, I mean, water, but we've got a limited amount of people paying for the town buildings. If the numbers prove to be higher.
Right,
which
and
they
you
should
look at, from our department's point of view, we get charged by the accounting department, assessors department, collectors
Yeah,
department,
exactly.
all these other departments. For our services that they're providing us, we should also be billing for them.
Theoretically, they're not paying their fair share for
So,
using the sewer system on this property. But then why are we paying, like, I know it's all Peter taken from Peter to beg Paul, but, it's the
But
case.
he's
we
taken
have- we
from
have-
Peter.
we have a unique
Paul's
situation.
not getting his
We have
pay.
ratepayers that aren't, they're totally separate,
Right.
We're actually taking on this particular money in the rate side to pay the whole town side, which wasn't.
But then again, you're only looking at a fraction of the town people that are paying the rates. And they're paying the rates.
That's what I'm saying, that's why that
Yeah.
number's so important.
It's not
It's-
Yeah.
spread out all
And
over.
That's you guys, I mean, I'm betting the benefit of this, not the intention, but it's 460, if you take 20,000 as a net, the net not paid,
Yeah,
you're paying 20. It's 462,000, then you take 4% interest over that period of time, we got a big number.
yeah.
So that's all how we deal with it is, as long as we're aware of it, that's half the battle right there.
You have something to work on after the field.
Groundbreaking.
I
This
think-
has to be resolved pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a good project.
Did you get nomination papers yet? I'm not sure what that schedule is, if that's up today.
So that's not for them.
So we can touch on it, as we move through some other projects too. It seems like we have no shortage of things to research and look through, but you'll
Right.
find in your packets too. There was a rate study that was done in 2018. That's just attached. You can kind of look at it at leisure at some point and just see what, when CPM did the study, see what they recommended. And we'll, as we move forward, kind of compare to some of the neighboring communities, but ultimately we've got to not necessarily, I think, look at the other communities, but look at what our expenses are. Find what's gonna match and work to continue giving the services that we give the people on the wastewater side.
Sorry, that's in here?
Yeah, is it in your? That's a blue coloring to it? Yeah, that's it there.
That's it?
No, you just fingered through
Oh, this one.
that way. I'd been going through some old documents in the plant and found some of that, so thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and this was before the plant expansion with additional customers. So,
This way, this is something CDM did,
yeah,
it's all good.
yes,
All right. You know, that just, I was thinking as you mentioned this earlier, that Ty and Bond does a lot of this stuff, too. Ty and Bond has a long-standing rate evaluation
Yeah.
of sewer and water, just in case. And they may have gotten a lot of that stuff from Ty and Bond, because they're kind of like for some reason, somebody at Ty and Bond decided that was a good thing to do, and now rates became a big deal.
well, if you look at page 6 and 7, that's those charts are pretty much saying what the rate should be in 2023. Without the plant expansion, should have been $1,000 a year per user.
Yeah, and this is another recovery point for us.
Right.
Um,
And that's why doing the plant expansion and getting additional revenue offsets the increase of to me, minimal operational costs of adding a third and fourth tank. And this doesn't even include capital expenses that we got with the plant expansion. So the sewer customers have done very well over the past, since you've been here and continued on through.
Started right fairly and kept going with you guys, so.
And it's crazy to see what's happened since this study was done. Like, to Elaine's point, now we have 4 tanks. We're looking at another leaching field. So all these variables, when they do a rate study, it's a fraction of time. That's what's nice about water.
Right.
You can add in these variables and coming across our plate now. to kind of
that's
help
it.
us do the evaluation.
If we didn't pursue additional revenue, meaning the plant expansion, people would have been paying, what, $700 since 2018, up to $1,000. So whatever our rate increase turns out to be, because we know we do need one, it'll be taking all factors into
Yeah,
consideration.
it'll be maybe a little more dramatic because of this stuff, but not, if you look back as what you just did, it's still probably less than, it will be in the ballpark, but not the highest of it's not the
Right.
new one, not
Right.
the new high anymore. But that could
Sure.
be, it's now in the middle where it should be,
Right.
but it shows with the printers. But you did mention on this article too, that equipment question mark.
So for Dave to put down
Is-
something.
On that point, anything this goes back to the first time again. I have 2 points here. One is any equipment that we can get under the SRF as opposed to putting into a capital account, I think we should be talking about it now. Anything big, anything you have, try to put this into the SRF, and then one of the permit conditions of the maintenance of the field. I just talked with conservation, just looking to see if they can help us maintain the field. Buy them a piece of equipment to mow it and all these things we have to do.
Yeah.
It's on the same, they've been talking to the DPW and it's not necessarily the best way to go. So I'm just looking at just for the capital costs. If we can put it into our budget, we have this cushion there. That's why I put this millions of dollars of cushion is so important because it takes it off the capital budget. We don't have to touch it. We need new snowplow. We need a new lift or if we need a new truck, we need whatever it is we need with the new plan, maybe a lift. I don't know what it is. We instead of hiring someone to get into the tank with a cherry picker type of hydraulic lift, maybe we have something that we can mount to whatever. I'm just thinking out loud, but now's the time to get it, and put it inside.
20 years ahead and see what you think you're gonna need
And,
and get it now.
and we
It's
had
zero
talked,
interest.
and we had talked before that if there's any, money left over from this SRF for the plant expansion, last we had upwards of $1 million of the SRF loan that wasn't being utilized. Now, I'm sure that's been drawn down, so let's say it's $500,000. About reallocating that money, because the state doesn't take it back, we're paying for it anyway.
Right.
Reallocate that money to reduce the leaching field as
Yeah.
well. So, I mean, we keep
All
chipping
these-
away.
Any of those kind of things are out there.
Yeah.
That's that institutional history. Yeah, so that's critical.
Do we currently in our budget every year, keep anything aside for capital improvements or equipment replacement over the years to come? Like
This,
4%, 5%, 10%?
Not necessarily a percentage figure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more based on article money. So if we
Okay.
have leftovers, like in this draft here, that number 93,676, we could take that article and assign it a task, or
Okay.
multiple options of tasks,
Right.
say, so.
So that's how we do it.
Yeah,
Yearly
yeah,
basis.
so then we'll use
So
the articles.
if you needed a new
We
truck,
design it,
because the old one 45 years old, it just doesn't start, whatever.
which we have
Well,
a
that's-
new truck coming soon.
So it comes out of surplus revenue.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And-
Nobody puts a little savings account aside and says, okay,
Probably
now
should,
5 years down the road, we need a new truck and we got 300,000 in there. Go out and buy yourself a truck.
what we have,
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, though.
So-
Now that we're getting to the end of this thing.
Yeah.
we
We
don't have
probably
any-
could set up
Now, we
something.
probably should be putting 80, 100,000, I'm picking about into that kind of account, so that big truck comes in, because there's nowhere to get that money. You're not gonna go to SRF again.
I mean, didn't the water department do that for their wells?
yeah, actually,
Future wells and such. and-
we have an accumulation of articles that, some are spent because they were identified for specific things.
Mm.
But we have about, last I saw, 1.7 million of article money that's been allocated for the plant
Right.
for unforeseen expenses
Okay.
and specific things. It's just all divided into articles. So that's why if per chance there's a shortage this year for 24, we'll draw down the 1.7 million. That's the article. Like I said, I estimated.
Okay, no,
Yep.
I'm good.
I mean, but if we
I
can
didn't know how that
consolidate,
worked with our department.
That makes
water
sense,
department,
well, we
site,
know enough
site.
now, but now we're gonna kind of close the books, there's no more expansion, and then we start doing
Yeah.
it more, on a revenue producing.
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and maybe it is consolidating all those articles into an account. Maybe that's the, but we do have 1.7 million.
And in reality, in the next 15, 20 years, we may have a huge water main break or our main break or something.
Oh, yeah.
And a shift in the
Major
earth,
catastrophe that's
and then
unexpected.
we have to spend money to put that all back
Yeah.
together.
We've already had, since I've been here, probably at least 3 events that the Jones River came to.
Well, yes,
inches
that was the one that was coming to my
of coming
mind.
into the Jones
That
River
you may have to
station.
jack that sucker up. And
So, you know, who's to say that one time that comes up another foot, another 6 inches, and wipes out that station?
It's not a matter of.
You know?
I don't mind.
We've sandbagged it, we've done things on our end, but you know, those are things that, you know.
I think we're gonna have to
unforeseen.
start looking at it next year or so, as to how to rectify that. Whether it be put a retaining wall around it and, you know, go for, give yourself some time in the future.
Resilience, weather, climate resiliency
Yeah.
funds.
Yes.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah,
It's one thing, a little tidbit that most people don't know, that the tide gauges and all the tide levels that are done are established based on data that's almost 30 years old now. So when they say the tide's gonna be 12.5, that's it, no surge, no nothing. It doesn't include the fact that the tide, the ocean, the entire ocean is up 0.6 of a foot. So take the 12.5, add 0.6 to it, it's 13.1. The tide, that's why you get more and more of these things. Because people aren't adding the numbers. All that ice that melted over the last
Oh,
98, 2008, 2008. And it's under the number. It's high. Everyone can say, look at all these storms. I go, yeah, it's because the ocean's higher. The entire ocean's higher.
Wow. Jeez.
yeah, all those glaciers are melting. It's
Yeah.
not in a solid mass, 100 feet deep. Now it's in the ocean, creating higher levels.
Anyways,
Okay.
yeah, just lots of places.
CDM contract, I checked in with the treasurer today, Ken Mullally, and he said that the last piece is with bond counsel to be able to get Carol to sign off on the CDM contract. I don't know how much more I can say that it's urgent, critical, ASAP.
I copied you on emails today and yesterday for the CR and restriction language to the town council, and I had he called me this morning and said he didn't get the attachment, so I sent it to him again. And the CDM and me will kind of ride her over Nick at that's your but whoever the town council is going to look at this, he's aware of it, and I may see him before I leave, hopefully. But that's the only thing left. It's not critical for the construction start, but it is critical for getting done. But we're close. So everything's coming together.
Yeah, it really
I don't know
is.
if we're having a groundbreaking or whatever, but
More than a groundbreaking or something. Of a raise a flag or something. Get one of those big blimps and have it hanging over
Yeah.
the flag.
Airplane towing banner around a big circle.
What do you think, Dave? Anything else?
I don't know, I think that's enough. Got a numbers headache. Just as far as you're talking about vehicles, we do have a crane truck on order using that article money.
oh, we do.
That's on capital planning that was done when Bob was here. It's such a process now to get a vehicle that it's been in the works for quite a while. I did a follow-up email to see where we're at. And it says it's coming soon. But if I say soon, that's very open-ended. I know facilities was waiting, and they were told theirs is coming soon. It arrived last week, and they were supposed to get it just before the new year. So it could be a couple months away. Could be a couple weeks.
The boom or
So truck mounted crane. So it's a F-350 with a utility body and the crane on. It'll handle a couple hundred more pounds than our prior one. We have one right now.
The legs come out on the back to support it, stabilize.
I think they're gonna be
One-
hand operated,
one of the
but
other,
there
yeah.
will be some supports, yeah. The current crane truck that we have is 2012. That came on board when I first came on. They actually got delivery in 2013 on it, so we're pushing 11 years on
Yeah.
the unit.
the
That's
pump,
going
with
in.
the pumps and mainly.
Yeah, but they take it doing their rounds during the week, alternating the trucks, so at least they're getting use. And that truck in itself just went in for a sticker and it needs brakes and needs some wiring done to it, but it's going in Monday for that stuff, just to keep it going until this other vehicle comes along, and then we can make some decisions on that.
The operators need a place their license. and all
Yes.
that, yeah.
All the guys need, is it a 2A and a 1B, so hoisting engineers and hydraulics license.
Let's get that one that's up in the woods running. That's a pretty poor shape.
Oh, man. I remember, on a side note on that one, I remember when Ken wanted me to drive that down to the highway barn, and I got in it, and as soon as I stepped on the brake fluid just exploded. I said, you know what, I'm not driving this thing anymore. And we parked it out in the backwoods and left it. So that's something I gotta work
Push it
with.
down the hill to the metal dumpster, just leave it there.
That's on my to-do list, to get that into the auction that the town does. They just have.
All those mice lose a house.
Lots.
I'll be there. It'll be there moving, like they're driving camper.
Well, that's why you do it now before they wake up.
Now,
At
Pete,
different location.
so anything else from anybody?
Any updates on the leaching field, start dates, anything like that?
So
If
just
they've
what
had
I
the-
said, okay, well, right now we're waiting, I just got the long range forecast, which is really good news. It's gonna be very warm in March. Because what we need is those turtles to wake up and stop moving around. As soon as they're not moving around, we can actually do the sweep, but I'll find out from CDM, we're on board, start construction, have the contract signed as soon as all this other stuff gets done, but my opinion, we will be under immediate construction start around the third week of March. which is
Oh,
a
wow.
month. Start putting in the fences for the turtles. They don't need anybody around for that. Just go in, survey the plot site and put them in. And then when and if the turtles wake up. So I want to get those fences in sooner than later, before they wake up, because you don't want. As soon as they, LEC, we hired them instead of the other for half the cost, because they're only in Plymouth. I didn't tell you that, so we saved 20 grand there. So we, they'll be in there, and I'm gonna commandeer myself and Matt as the conservation agent to be out to save us the interim of during construction to kind of monitor the place,
Okay,
show up unannounced, make sure they're not throwing turtles over the fence, and that kind of stuff that contractors do. What's this? You can't do that. And so we'll be watching it, and that saves us the interim time for the turtle people. Bottom line is, we're gonna be starting somewhere around April 1st. Trees are gonna start coming down. The rest is history.
wow, that was quick. That was
So we
very
gotta wait for
quick.
the turtles to wake up and do the sweeps. That takes a couple of days, but once that's done. Cutting and mowing and stumping and everything. That'll take a day, actually. That place will be cleared and stumped
They move
in
so
2
quick.
days.
Really?
They move
be-
so quick. If you get a chance to see them clearing some
Yeah.
land. I saw them do it up in the North Shore, making an addition for a hospital in Wilmington Hospital.
Yeah.
Boy, did they move so quick. It's the craziest thing. It was like seeing an armed man just working. And it was so methodical. They cleared this place in a day. It was ridiculous. Really?
This
Really
is
impressive.
simple stuff relative. When I did Quarry Hills, we had oak trees. I'm not, this place had never been lumbered ever in this really. This was there when the Native Americans would, they were oak trees, this big. Okay, and they brought these things in. They come from somewhere up in Maine. Grab the tree like this giant blade, as big as this room, that thick. Zoop, that fast. And then they threw it. And
Yeah.
this giant machine, and it was a tree 160 feet tall, 80 feet wide, was dust in a
Really?
matter of less than 2 minutes.
They didn't use it for lumber or anything? They
Nope,
ju-
they just threw them in there. They had mounds of chips. They took the chips off and unbelievable, like you said, it was, you have to
Paper
see it.
mills.
Yeah.
Shoot them
Yeah.
up.
Some of the machines, if the trees are worth it, they might limb them and just
Yeah.
save the trunk. Other ones, the whole thing just shreds in and they have probably a formula on what they
Yeah.
base it on, what size tree and what they keep and get rid of. Yeah. Awesome.
But it took 700 acres, 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Is that how big that is up there?
700 acres we put.
So, look
No,
at that.
actually, I'm not, besides 700, it's like 300 acres in between the two. Wasn't, the whole thing was 700. Yeah, 300 acres over between, it was, yeah, that was something else.
We good?
Good.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let me
A
turn us
couple
off.
weeks.
You want to turn those off? Off the recording.
Just hold it down.